Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In this video, we are going to study about the mesentery and the root of mesentery. The mesentery literally means fold of intestine. It is a Greek word. And it is covering the small intestines. It is also called mesentery proper. It is a fan-shaped fold of peritoneum which suspends the coils of jejunum and ileum from the posterior abdominal wall. Now let's talk about the attached border or the root of mesentery that you can see here in green color. So the root of mesentery is 15 centimeters long. It is 15 centimeters long and it extends from the duodenojejunal flexure at the level of vertebra L2 to the right sacroiliac joint. So in the process, it crosses the following structures. The first one is the third part of the duodenum. Number 2 is the abdominal aorta. Then we have the third, that is the inferior vena cava. The fourth one is the ureter. And the fifth one is the right psoas major, which cannot be visualized because of the fat layer, that is the greater omentum की वजह से नज़र नहीं आ रहा. बट यहीं पर हमारे पास एक सॉस मेजर मसल होता है, उससे तो उसको क्रॉस करता है. Let's talk about the free or the intestinal border of the mesentery. So the free or intestinal border of the mesentery is 6 meters long. How much? It is 6 meters long. The root of mesentery was only 15 centimeters long. This is 6 meters long. And that is thrown into pleats, like a skirt. It is attached to the gut, forming visceral peritoneum or serous coat. So it is basically forming a visceral peritoneum. Visceral peritoneum is the peritoneum that surrounds the viscera. And the breadth of the mesentery is maximum and is about 20 centimeters in the central part. So in the central part, the breadth of the mesentery is 20 centimeters. And it tapers on both sides. So यहाँ पे लिखा हुआ है, but gradually diminishes towards both ends. Now let's talk about the distribution of fat in the mesentery. Fat is most abundant in the lower part of the mesentery. So they say that fat mostly collects in the lower part of the mesentery. So the fat is most abundant in the lower part of the mesentery, extending from the root to the intestinal border. Like from the root to the intestinal border, or you can say that in this, if talking along these lines, here it is most abundant. Extending from the root to the intestinal border, it is most abundant in the lower part. Then they say that the upper part of the mesentery, this part, it contains less fat, which tends to accumulate near the root. So even if it is towards the upper end, it is only towards the root, and it is comparatively less than the lower border where it is actually accumulated. Near the intestinal border, it leaves oval or circular free fat translucent areas or windows. So near this intestinal border where fat is not present, there are some fat-free areas which are called windows in anatomy. Now the question is, what are actually the contents of this mesentery? So the mesentery contains jejunal and ileal branches of the superior mesenteric artery. So these that you see here, these vessels that are running along, these are actually the jejunal and the ileal branches. Also on the other side, you can see these jejunal and ileal branches. This is also here. You can also see the intestinal border. Other thing, obviously the jejunal and the ileal branches and their accompanying veins. Apart from that, there is the presence of autonomic nerve plexus. And there are lymphatics or lacteals, lymph nodes, and there is connective tissue with fat. These are the contents of the mesentery.